Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello everyone, my name is Umar Hamid. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling podcast. And today we have Josh Eyking here with us today. And I happen to be in the old hometown in Baltimore, Maryland at an Airbnb. And you can't see Diego, the dog who lives here, is just there. And welcome to the show. So happy you're here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Umar.
So I see a map right behind you. And what's kind of interesting is, people just drew up a bunch of lines to say, this is this country, that's that country. And I'm not even sure that map's accurate anymore. Is it accurate?
I don't know.
I seem to see the Soviet Union there. That
no,
doesn't
actually, I think
anymore.
that's pretty accurate. I got that about
Is
10
it Russia?
years ago.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
No, it does say Russia on that one. It's not the former
brilliant.
USSR. So post 91.
So tell me about you. Tell me about your business, and let's get to know you better.
Well, I'm formerly from Nova Scotia, Cape Breton. I came to Ottawa about 14 years ago. I do have some family here, so that was part of the attraction, but I always loved the city. I grew up on a fairly large farm for Eastern Canada, and grew up there until I went to university in St. Mary's University in Halifax.
Nice. What kind of farm?
Yeah. We had poultry, so we had about 120,000 chickens, so it was a fairly large farm.
Wow.
And we had several hundred acres of vegetable, so that's kind of where my upbringing was, and that's up until 18 years old, I worked on the farm until I went to university.
Yeah, let's take a look. It's the glory of technology. Let's just make sure I'm on the right network. I'm on a 5G network.
Yeah,
good.
You're
so,
good.
One of the scariest times for me was I was on the eastern shore of Maryland, and I went to a chicken farm. And basically, the farmers just raised the chickens, but the chickens belonged to Tyson. They brought the chickens over,
right? And
so got to see that. And then we went to the factory where they process, and that was the scariest thing I've ever seen in terms of it was so clean. And so mechanized. It was like 100,000 chickens got processed a day or something ridiculous. Yeah. And it was like, whoa, it's like, it should be like bloody and awful, but it wasn't. And that made it scary.
So we actually had laying hens. So it was a little different. We didn't raise them to slaughter. We had,
nice.
We provided eggs for the better part of Cape Breton, part of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So, yeah.
So tell me what are you seeing in the market right now as you do your business?
Definitely it's shifted. Noticed a big change since rates started going up in March. I think we're down about 70%.
Wow, that's
as far
huge.
As productivity. Yeah.
More than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah. You're still working on deals that were in the process, or you're negotiating prior to when they started bumping the rates. But I think if I was to look at the transaction amount that we do on a monthly basis, I would say we're down at least 60 to 70%. Things have definitely changed.
What's the average interest rate on a mortgage right
now? For a fixed rate, I think for those banks that haven't adjusted their rates based on Tuesday's adjustment, because as you know, the banks can hold the rates for a little longer after they do adjust. I think it's around 4.5 for a fixed, and they're still offering 3.5 for a variable, but that'll obviously change fairly soon.
So what's kind of interesting is like a million years ago, the financial market went nuts, and the interest rates went up to 21% for a home.
And 1980 to 1982, yep. I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And certainly some people lost their homes, but most people figured it out. And it was like for a year and change that insanity happened. And now at 4%, it's no big deal in the grand scheme of things, but jumping from like 2% to 4% is freaking people out. But 4% is still pretty much free money in the grand scheme of things.
Sure. And I think it's going to catch up to us. There's only a few people that have called me in the last couple months that are really distressed or fairly concerned. But those situations and incidents will start to compound, I think, as people's fixed rates start to expire. And I think the statistic is something like half of Canadians have fixed rate mortgages. So I'll give you an actual example of a conversation I had with a high-tech client that called me just a couple of weeks ago with some concern. I mean, this individual worked for a large technology company. I sold them a home about 4 years ago. So their fixed rate is coming up. I think they locked in at around just under 2% for a 5 year. And they have just over $1 million mortgage. I believe their carrying cost was around $2,000 a month. Anyway, fast forward, I think they're going in for close to a 5% fixed rate. So that's an adjustment of a little over 3% for them. The difference with this one individual was substantial. So it's about $2,400 additional monthly payment on their mortgage.
So we go to $4,400 instead of $2,000.
Something like that, give or take.
Okay, that's significant. That's significant.
That is significant. But you take somebody who it's $2,400 more a month, but that works out to give or take $30,000 a year. Additional costs for that family. Now, what has happened as well is MPAC, or Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. I think they took a year or two off of adjustments because of COVID. So this guy gets hit with that as well, to the tune of, I guess, $300 additional property taxes a month. So now we're talking $2,700. And you take a person in that income bracket, the average goods for a family now, if they're spending $200,000 a year, which is probably realistic for somebody who has $1 million+ home on lifestyle, that person's lifestyle costs $20,000 more a year just because of inflation. So you're talking to them, they've got $30,000 plus another $5,000 in taxes. They're $35,000 extra there, and then their cost of living is up $20,000. They're at $55,000 more cash required to keep their existence the exact same. Nothing's changed here. And then somebody who's making that kind of money is in an effective tax bracket of 54%. Right. He's not getting a $110,000 raise this year to compensate for that. So what do we do is the question. So the toys in the cottage are possibly on the table if they want to keep their home. And there's layoffs at their job now, and the stock has dropped. You look at that guy 5 years ago, he walked into a bank. He was the perfect customer. He was doing everything right, 20% down, making well into six figures a year, and great stock in a company. So these are situations that will compound, I think, in the next couple years, year and a half.
Yeah,
and
that's huge.
Yeah.
So what's kind of interesting is, fear is the enemy of success. And oftentimes fear is the enemy of sound decision, because when you're in panic mode, oftentimes you can't make the right decisions. Now, I'm not sure what the right decision for this person is, because you're also in a weaker housing market. So it's not like you can flip the house. Right. So you just got to write it out somehow. And one of the things you can do is maybe sell a child. Is that allowed? I'm not sure.
I don't know. He's got access to a lot more software and a lot more technology than I'm aware of. So I'm sure that's possible, but I don't think that's on the table for them.
So one of the things I'm finding is I just did a retreat for a construction company yesterday, and they are having a really tough time finding salespeople and finding construction workers. And they're paying really high dollar. They're saying people are just not coming to the job. And so not everybody has stopped working, but at some point things have to settle down. So how do you think that phenomenon of a lot of people not really being choosy where they work and right now maybe not working, and then housing pricing going up, interests are going up, just all those. Where do you think it's going to land? Because it's going to land somewhere.
Well, I think a lot of people, have shifted to the attitude that they can work from home and have this dream job. I'm not sure what the major influences are with that, maybe social media and whatnot, but I do think there is probably a reckoning that's going to occur. You can see the push and pull. Employers are starting to get a little more leverage with the get back to the office, guys. It's time to buckle down. Versus a year ago, you didn't want to go in that direction with some health concerns with COVID. And so I do think that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have to realize that you might have to put on the work boots and get out there. And there's 6-figure jobs out there if you are willing to do the work. I think that, and I hope that will, start to occur again.
Absolutely. So tell me about yourself. Do you have a team? Are you part of a team?
Well, I actually, it's just me and my assistant right now.
Nice.
I used to have, I do. I like it. We used to have 6 people on our team.
Right.
And I did that for a few years. But I decided to really trim it down. And I was finding I was dealing a lot more with the people on my team than my clients. And that's not the direction where I originally wanted my business to go in. So I kind of kept it simple, went back to the basics, and now it's just my assistant, myself. And I'm a lot happier, and I think it's a lot more successful since we've made that transition.
Nice. Of course, as we're doing this outside, all the lawnmowers have come out, so let's go inside. So what's been interesting is I sold my house last year and have become a digital nomad. And so today I happen to be in Airbnb in Baltimore.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty blessed life. And here we go. Now we're inside. Hopefully it's a little quieter.
Much better.
And we've got Diego here keeping me company. Say hi, Diego.
Hey, buddy.
So that's like a just a new way of being. So where are you learning right now? What are you doing to get better, Josh?
Well, I guess right now, as in since the market has shifted, or as of 2 years ago, because, you got to bob and weave in this business. Since the market has shifted, I find I'm just kind of grabbing the phone and talking to some of my old clients a little bit more, touching base with them and giving them my opinion on where we're at with where the market's going.
Nice.
And the worst thing for somebody who's a high producer or likes to keep, moving, and it's not about the money as much as it's about feeling like you just did a deal. So how do I substitute that mentally when the market's a little slower? And the little wins for me right now might not be signing as many contracts as we were 4 or 5 months ago. It's getting off the phone with somebody who you haven't talked to in a while, having a great conversation. And, that's the substitute right now for not inking as many deals, I guess. And I found that's been, really important. It's a good shift. And I am getting referrals as a result of that. So again, getting back to the basics, and we're a belly to belly, ear to ear business.
Yeah, it's always the magic key to when things are getting out of kilter, go back to the basics, the foundational stuff that always works. So you're part of a broker. How many agents in the brokerage?
Well, yeah, I guess we're probably in our individual brokers, they have 3 or 4 throughout the city. In that particular one, there's around 300 agents.
Nice. Very significant.
Yeah. It's a Remax Hallmark franchise. I believe they're the largest in Canada, if not North America.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So what are the 3 pieces of advice you'd give people in this changing market for agents so they don't panic and freak out? Take Valium. What else?
I guess one thing is you have to keep your routine. As far as if you were a productive agent before, you can replace the little things in your routine. Like I said, I'm not doing as many deals as we were 3 or 4 months ago, but I'm still doing, my physical exercise at the same time. And as opposed to going out, showing a home, I might be on the phone, and that's good for your mental capacity, your mental
definitely.
well-being, because sitting there idle with the type of people that are gravitated towards real estate is not healthy. So get on the phone, talk to clients, and you don't have to have anything in particular to say. They just like hearing you. Hearing you have a conversation with them.
So keep the routine, exercise, and talk to people. And it doesn't have to be about real estate. Just reconnect human to human, and that leads to business.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, from a business perspective, watch your bottom line, and your expenses. I mean, one of the reasons why I got away from the big team was because it doesn't matter if the market slows down or stops, you still have those expenses when you're running huge budgets. Some of these guys that I know in the business are $30,000, $40,000 expenses per month.
Oh, yeah.
So right now they're stressing. So for me, we always ran lean. And I personally don't do a lot of marketing. I only do a mail out to my community, my small community. I do zero online media. I do zero Instagram, nothing like that. It's always been repeat business.
Nice.
Exactly. And it's hard to quantify like you can with mail outs and whatnot, what your bottom line return is from that when you're picking up the phone and talking to people. But rest assured, there's a very good return, if not a much better return than doing that kind of thing. And in a shrinking market, you don't have the overhead that could leave you up at night sweating. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
So 2 last questions. Number 1, Josh, what makes you happy?
Well, my family, obviously,
Nice.
I've got 3 kids. My wife and I have been together for 10 years now. We've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 10-month-old. They keep me busy and happy.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I love the freedom that my job gives me to spend time with them and travel with them and be there for breakfast and dinner sometimes with them. So I would say that's probably number 1 in my world as far as what makes me happy.
Brilliant. What's one piece of advice you'd give just the general population that would make them happier, stronger, faster, sexier?
Structure. I think that's something that I live by every day. It's, time block, a good amount of time for your personal and your family and your health, and your business will be successful. There's a lot of agents in our business that are, running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I'll go down, I drive on the 417, the highway, and I can see my brokerage sometimes from the highway, and you'll be going back from dinner with your wife at 9:30 at night. And don't get me wrong, we've all been there, late deals, but you'll see certain cars that are consistently there at the late hours at night,
right?
Or and they have no routine. It's irregular, and those are the people that I find are actually the least successful in the business. You have to keep your working hours and your family hours separated as best as possible.
Yeah. Nice. Josh, thanks so much for being on the show. Really enjoyed the conversation. Sorry for the lawnmowers. They always come out when you're recording.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me, and I hope you have a great weekend.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.